If you're in a poly relationship, you probably don't like your partner that much, right? Basically, just a couple who wants to fuck me, like use me as a sex toy and then leave. So like maybe being a third as a guy is not as bad. What do you think? What do guys think about that? Dude, I was on Tinder. Sometimes I just randomly open it and there was this couple that messaged me. Dude, Tinder is so fucking bad, by the way. Like here, there's just like 70% of them are like poly people or married people like looking to me, basically. And so this couple messaged me and like the first thing they said was, would you be down to get us some weed from the dispensary? I think they were like 20, like under 21. FBI honeypot, dude. I'm gonna go to jail. Oh my god. I left right away. I don't think I'm into poly relationships that much long term. That stuff's crazy. Basically, just a couple who wants to fuck me, like use me as a sex toy and then leave. Basically, that's what poly relationships are. Except like eventually, like they're gonna end up liking me more than their main partner, and then then I'm gonna ruin their relationship because I don't want to be in a poly relationship. That's the future prediction. If I get involved, it happened one time and it didn't even work out. So all the hot girls are poly now. What's that about? Not true because you're not poly? What do you mean? No, I was poly once. I mean, I was literally just actively involved. I was in a poly thing, but I don't like it. I was just gonna do it just to like have fun for a day, but then I realized, wait, this is not fun long term. I have that soul that like craves a sacred connection, that you can only get with one-on-one commitment, I don't know if you can do that with 3 people. Maybe you can do that with 3 people, but you'll be lucky. You would be one of the lucky ones, I feel like. I mean, okay, you could do 3, but like any more than 3, like monogamous with 3 people, then okay, then you're kind of pushing it, right? Or you can just stay single for life like me. I've had 3 poly relationships. First was nice, but then one became jealous of the other. Second was where the girl wanted to not have me see others while they did. Wait, they wanted to cuck you and not let you do anything? Third was okay, but she wouldn't be honest about what she was going to be with the other. Ha ha ha, just got ghosted today. It's a weekly thing. You did by a girl? Yo, just that's fine. She missed out. Tinder and Hinge, they kind of suck though. I'm giving up on them after the constant ghosting. It's a soulless pit and buyer's market for women. Very demoralizing. Oh my god, yeah. I mean, it must be rough actually. To me, it's all easy if everything is in the open. Problem arises mostly with control and jealousy and dishonesty. Well, that's the thing actually. I feel like if you're in a poly relationship, you probably don't like your partner that much, right? Okay, I mean, okay, that's I'm making a lot of assumptions, but I think generally okay, I will admit, like, it is possible to like your partner a lot but still want to be like a little bit poly. But if you like them at your like the highest potential ideal, you wouldn't want to be poly, right? I feel like it's something where you're with somebody and you're like, oh, you're like a little bit okay with them, but you're not satisfied in a lot of ways. So you're like, you have to go find that somewhere else, which it's hard to satisfy everything for, but I feel like it's possible. Like maybe it's really hard, but it's definitely possible. And I think people are poly because they're like subconsciously looking for that one person who can satisfy everything. No? Like, is it really just to satisfy some soulless sexual desire? Like, why else would you be poly? That doesn't make sense. Some people believe that they can love multiple people completely. I thought maybe you can. You probably can, but I feel like, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's possible. Honestly, like, maybe like when you spend too much, when you are with somebody 24/7, it's hard to keep things vibrant, right? On average. So it could just be a way to switch things up, which keeps all of the relationships more vibrant. But to me, it still seems like compromising for something. But maybe I'm just like subconsciously a victim to the nuclear family, like, society that we live in. Which do you think what do you think about polyamorous and monogamous relationships on like an existential level? Like do you think there's any sort of like deeper truths to like building something on a soul connection level? If that makes sense? Or do you think it's all like culture and society and like your own personal preferences? I don't like the word objective, but like I guess that's an easy way to say it. Do you think there's like any objective truths to being with just one person and keeping it like more like quote sacred? You're pretty much saying if you really like someone, you ain't gonna want to share them. Okay, that has hints of like possessiveness, like, oh, I don't want to share you. But what I'm saying is like if you really like somebody, then you're not even gonna have the other temptation or the other desire to go and see other people. It's different. Like, it's not you could technically, you could be with somebody and be like, hey, you can be with anybody you want, right? You can be open, but like you both like each other so much that you don't even want to be with anybody. That's the difference. For my psych classes, it's been researched that a lot of people are poly due to the inability to trust someone to a full potential. Some people pick poly because it keeps you in a flowing state, which keeps you safe from being hurt by one person. That actually makes sense. It is inability to commit long term, right? I'm like the opposite. Like, I function almost like the inverse with some people, where it's like, unless I have a reason not to trust you, then I'm gonna give you like full trust and commitment. Obviously, that's not a smart thing to do because you're gonna get hurt all the time. But if you go into it with like 1,000 walls built up, then I mean you can do that too and just slowly build it. But I don't know, it makes it less fiery and passionate and like open, like intense at the start. If you have like 1,000 walls built up from your past traumas. So I specifically just don't even have any walls at the start most of the time, other than like basic safety, you know? What a dumb thing to say. Like, if you can just say, oh, today I don't do a wall. Wait, what do you mean? It's not dumb. It's actually a rare thing to not be able. It's a rare thing to be able to go into something like fully emotionally secure without like thousands of walls built up from your past, you know, which everybody has. You can at least reduce them a lot. But I don't know what you're talking about, actually. What's dumb? No, it's more like being okay with being vulnerable. Like, which means you have to be okay with getting hurt, which means if you make yourself vulnerable, then you're going to be more authentic and honest in the moment. You're going to be more present in the moment. And there's a trade-off. Like, potentially things are going to be more passionate and fiery and like real because you're not hiding anything. But in exchange, since you're bearing your like bare soul to them, you could get hurt way easier. instead of just like doing like very slowly. And you know, the alternative is people who never actually share their genuine self, and they just, maybe they're like passive listeners and they listen to everything from the other person and they learn the other person and they understand the other person, and then they create this character to appeal to all of the desires of the other person. You know, so it's like kind of like manipulative in a way where they're not actually they're like trying to be what they think you want them to be, which isn't actually them, but they're creating that for you afterwards. You know, there's like a difference. People with trauma build walls, and even if they don't want the wall, you cannot just let it down. And the wall is really not easy to grasp to what it is. Yeah, you're right. That's why I said it's actually a rare thing to be able to do what I do. You actually have to do a lot of self-development and a lot of shadow work, you know? Do like maybe 500 grams of mushrooms, you know, do some DMT. Yeah, not everybody can do it. Most people actually don't, they can't do it. I wanted comfort from my partners, but never really found someone I really liked to be in love with, so I was just poly because I didn't want to lead people on. It seemed like the more moral path into just randomly sleeping around, because at least I'm building some sort of true relationship, if that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you can not, it's possible to like not really like somebody at the start, but over time you've built history and you built at least something together by being with them. So poly relationships can turn into something more sacred, even if it doesn't have that spark at the start. I mean, it's probably better than just randomly sleeping around and not having any sense of commitment. That's why I think it's essential to be vulnerable and talk about how hard monogamy is if you want to have a successful long-term monogamous relationship. It is. Because, I mean, if you both don't understand, I mean, there's so many things that could go wrong. Like, there's a very high divorce rate, you know? Very high relationship failure in monogamous relationships too. But like understanding where it could go wrong, and I mean that's the first step to keeping it vibrant, right? Like talking about it. After a certain point, do poly people even get married? I mean, yes, actually. Dude, there's so many married couples trying to fuck me. It's crazy. It's always bait too. It's like there's this super hot girl on all of the pictures, and then it's like, oh, looking for a lady for my man. Looking for an unicorn. I mean, that probably keeps their marriage spicy, you know? Like that's their way of keeping it vibrant. And maybe like 2 different married couples, they want to be poly. That's not as bad for the married people, right? But for the unicorn, I guess, like, if that's your thing, I just feel like that's worthless for the third person, right? Like, the third person just gets used. I mean, maybe they get sexual pleasure out of it. But generally, like, why would any woman want that? What do you think? It's just not worth it. Why would they be a third instead of just building something? You get the sexual pleasure and you build something meaningful. I get hit up by women asking me to cuck their husband on Tinder a lot. Okay, maybe for guys, okay, I feel like guys, they might get more out of just like basic sexual desire. They at least desire it more. So like maybe being a third as a guy is not as bad. What do you think? What do guys think about that? Would you fuck a really hot girl like who's married? Or something about that? Do you feel like used? If her husband didn't want to sit in the room and watch, yeah. Just make him stay in the closet. He can like listen through the door. I hung out with these girls once, and her boyfriend wanted to be cucked, and I think they wanted me to cuck him. But like I didn't end up talking to them much more after that. Society is broken, honestly. You think? Well, okay, if this society is broken, what would be like a good society? Do you have a vision? Type 1 if virgin. Okay, one more. Message some poly-married girls, but because usually it's the individual person who talks to me, the one I find cute, so we still become friends. And for me, it's the same as talking to a single girl, though I would not do the couples who have a shared account. Wait, why is it the same as talking to a single girl if she's married? They're probably reading your messages, you know? Like, they probably read your messages together, and she shows you everything. That's how I would feel. Guy here, I'm happily married for many years. I'm my wife's only partner ever. I would love for her to have experiences with other guys. Not a cuck thing. I think it would widen her horizon. I'm under no illusion. I'm not the very best at sex. I feel secure in a relationship though, and don't think something like that would hurt it. Also, it would be hot. What if... Oh my god. That's very... I mean, that's like... You're very secure, aren't you? That's... Fear... Okay. If you don't have fear, that means like you don't have fear of loss, right? But like, if she's never experienced with other women, how do you have you ever thought about that? Like, what if this one experience is like, oh my god, there's so much other things out there, and then she like, what if there's this guy who's like has the most like magical energy ever, and he just steals your wife? Oh my god. That's, I mean, that is kind of hot. You're right. Yeah. You're a cuck. Because I just don't really notice their marriage. When we talk, it's normal. And when we go out, it's just us. So the marriage is kind of background to me. Wait, that's interesting. For me, I'm like hyper aware that this girl, what about when she goes back home? Like, you don't feel anything? Like, what about the fact that she only spends like 1/7 of her time with you compared to the other guy? Like, that doesn't bother you? I was with this poly girl, and I literally I ruined the whole relationship within the first couple weeks because I was like, wait, I fucking hate this. Like, we got together, we got along perfectly. Like, our compatibility was like, I've never been so compatible with a woman before. But she has like a boyfriend, and there was just I just felt like a second thought in her mind because she spent most of her time with him, and I'm like, wait, why would I invest so much time and energy into like all of my time and energy into this if I'm gonna be like a second thought to her? It just, but then I have like something else that's saying like, oh, hey Lumi, you should be able to just enjoy this for what it is and when it is, without like ruining it because of these other thoughts. But I just don't think that's the way my heart works. Like, I feel like my heart wants to experience like super deep, sacred, romantic love one-on-one, like build something like really deep with somebody. So I think that's why. I didn't think about this stuff, though that could be because I've only been with lesbian couples, so no, dude. Maybe the fact that both of them are feminine makes me comfortable in the relationship to never think about the other stuff that has nothing to do with me. I feel like that would make a huge difference, actually. Because there's this... Well, first of all, the masculine energy is way more possessive and, like, subconsciously insecure around other men, depending on where you were raised. Like, what culture and what society and what inner tendencies. I feel like men in general are more comfortable if it's two girls. Like, there's probably a significant difference where men don't care as much if their girl is with another girl compared to with a guy. Like, it's probably enormous.